Oh, hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Hands On channel. Today we're doing a little modification to this bucket. When I got this bucket, it didn't have anything on the top of it, and I'm going to need some chain hooks and a couple of loops to wrap straps around so that I can use this for lifting things. Like here recently I bought a brush hog, and right now it's stuck in the back of my trailer because I really have no way to unload it. So the idea is we're going to weld some chain hooks on here. It's a pretty common modification, but you see here I have a piece of bar, a flat piece of flat steel. It's under 1/4 inch, just under, but it's a pretty thick piece of steel, and the idea here is I'm going to weld this on to the top of the bucket first so that it kind of bridges that or spreads that load out across the whole top of the bucket. I've seen several of these Mahindra tractors and other tractors, not just Mahindras, but you know, Kubotas and other tractors around, that basically if you just weld straight onto the top of the bucket, if this thing's not reinforced up here at the top, in which this one actually is, it does have a piece of steel down below, but I'm just wanting to be double safe, so when I put my chain hooks on here and I go to reefing up on something really heavy, it won't bend the top of my bucket. I've seen a whole lot of guys over the years, they'll just wrap a chain around the bucket, and I guess if you've got a really stout bucket you can get away with that, but that's also a way that they get bent, you know. And another way that these buckets get bent on the bottom is guys put these clip-on forks on there. I personally wouldn't recommend those on any of these tractors like this. Maybe if you've got a really heavy-duty skid steer type bucket or something like that that's built out of like 1/4 inch thick steel or something that's really stout, you might be able to get away with that then. But anyways, I'm going to pull you in here. We'll do a little welding montage. I've already ground the paint off of the bucket, and I've ground the edges down off of my piece of flat steel here. This was actually a piece of angle iron, but I didn't have a piece of flat steel, so I cut one side of the angle off. So we'll get you pulled in here, show you what we're up to today. Obviously it's pretty darn hot out here. I'm sweating like a beast. So we'll probably have to switch over to some GoPro action whenever I get to the actual welding, but I wanted to show you kind of what I'm doing here. As you can see, I've got the piece of red steel. I painted it up with that rusty metal primer just because I didn't want to have the thing rusting away. If I'd have had some weld through primer, I wouldn't even have had to grind the edges, but I didn't have any, so I went this route, ground all my edges down. And this is actually kind of a, I don't know if you can see it on the video or not, let me zoom in. But this is kind of a piece of pitted up steel, and you can see where I welded it together with another piece just to get my length that I needed here. So anyways, maybe I'm doing a little overkill here, but this is the way I like to roll. I'd rather have it extra stout than not stout enough. And one other thing, I'm going to weld this on the tractor, and before I go to welding or anything, I'm going to lay a piece of cardboard here just to protect these exposed pistons here on both of them. I don't want any of that hot slag splashing over there and getting on my cylinders, because that might screw things up. So just as a precaution, I'm going to throw a piece of cardboard on there and keep that, you know, splatter from getting all over my stuff there. But yeah, I think this is going to be pretty awesome. Here in a minute I'll show you the hooks that we're going to put on there, and I actually bought some Weld-on D-rings and some Weld-on 3/8 chain hooks. So this thing is fixing to be a lifting beast. Now ideally I'd have a set of forks for it too, some quick attach forks, because you can see here this is actually a quick attach bucket, and I could take the bucket off and weld it, but I thought it'd be a little easier for me to be able to lift it up to the height that's comfortable for me to weld. And it's looking really gray and dark out here, so I may have to cut this whole job short because it may start raining on me. It's been raining like crazy, and it's like, I don't know, at least 80 or 90% humidity today. So I'm going to get fired up with the welder. We'll come back with a little GoPro action, and I'll show you guys kind of a welding montage. Stay tuned for that. All right, I'm really liking the look of that, man. Let's check it out. And again, I'm not a professional welder, so don't be too hard on me in the comments. A little bit boogery, but it'll do the job. All right, guys, now we just need to do a little cleanup with the grinder and get the flat black paint out. Actually, it's semi-gloss black paint. And hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and maybe you've learned something here about how to put some different hooks on your tractor. But yeah, just a really valuable thing to be able to do is weld, guys. So if you're going to be a homesteader or you're going to be a prepper, I highly advise you of getting a small 110 welder unit like this. If you're set up for it and you've got the electrical for it, go ahead and get a 220/140. Some of these will run off either one. They can run on 220 or 140 or 120, whatever you want to call it. But this one here is a Handler 140. It's a 115 wire feed welder, 25 to 140 amp output. And it's always been up to 1/4 inch steel. It's always been good enough for me. Again, sometimes though I'll make multiple passes because I know it's not a 220 machine. So you weld a little differently with this than you would with a big heavy 220 machine. But yeah, really stoked about this, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind. And until then, we'll see you next time.